cyber criminals and hackers in the world armed with automation and AI against a defenseless mobile user, there's really no match.
Hi everyone, I'm Purnima Pandey and you're watching Tech Unplugged by Mobile App Daily. Joining us today is Alan Bavosa, Vice President of Security Products at AppDome. Alan has a wealth of experience in the tech industry, specializing in mobile app security and helping organizations stay ahead of rapidly evolving cyber threats. At AppDome, he's at the forefront of ensuring that mobile applications are secure, with a focus on delivering seamless protection without compromising user experience. His unique insights into cybersecurity trends, the challenges in mobile protection, and the innovative solutions make him a sought-after voice in the tech world. Moreover, Alan is not only an exceptional product executive, but also an entrepreneur who has really been the core team member of many great startups. And if you think that's not enough, he's also a snowboarder and a lover of everything hip-hop. Well, I am already excited and thrilled to have such a dynamic guest over today at Tech Unplugged by Mobile App Daily. I really can't wait to start the chat. We welcome you, Alan. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today for this chat. Let's just get started. So the first question is that how did you really first get involved in cybersecurity industry? And how was the journey up to this day?
Oh gosh, yeah. So I've been in cybersecurity pretty much my entire career, straight out of college. First started at a big company, AT&T, when they were just getting into the internet space, believe it or not, and just been in various security roles at always product management. I think I came out of a womb as a product manager. And so, yeah, my experience ranges from network security to firewalls to SIEM and log management. And now, of course, mobile. I've been with AppDome for about 8+ years now, since almost the beginning.
So, but what is the significance of cybersecurity in today's world, both personally and professionally, and for our viewers especially who are watching us right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're at an interesting times. I mean, with all of the technology and AI and Internet of Things and gosh, it's like technology is exploding. Mobile in particular has become such an integral part of just about everyone's life. I mean, we wake up to our phones, we go to bed with our phones, and everything in between. I'm constantly in front of a screen, like it or not, and a voracious user of apps. And it's just, when I think about how technology touches our lives, it's almost completely immersive. Everything from work to play to eating to socializing with friends and sports. Everything for me, starts and ends with a mobile app. And I think it's just become an intertwined part of our life that's kind of here to stay.
I think we're all just used to being on our phones all the time. And of course, the security is a very important part of, using all of those things day in and day out. Users are more excited than concerned about the security of new apps, right? If there's something exciting coming up in the form of a mobile app, then they're more concerned about the app itself and not the security, really. So what should be the approach of a layman mobile user to ensure they're not really getting into a cyber crime trap?
That is a great question. Fraudsters have always followed the money, right? Since the dawn of time. And now, the money is in mobile, right? It's money comes from an audience and millions of users, and fraudsters know that. They know that that mobile apps store an enormous amount of data about us, about what we do, our spending habits, our credit card information, our preferences, PII, you name it. It's all there in those little apps that are in our pocket and in use all day long. And so unfortunately, it's attracted cyber criminals in droves. I mean, cybercrime is a huge business. It's a for-profit business with very well organized and motivated resources. And so, it's a pretty scary world out there when you think about all the ways that you could possibly attack a person or through an app, it's quite chilling. Now, with the advent of AI, or I should say the proliferation of AI, it's made the job of a cyber criminal even easier, because now they could, create even more realistic seeming attacks. These days, it's all about trying to trick users by maybe posing or masquerading, apps that masquerade as well-known apps. Like we've all seen the stories about, I won't name names, but very famous apps, household names that have been cloned and eavesdropping on spyware, malware, Trojans. So it's pretty scary. From a consumer standpoint, it's always I would always say exercise caution, buyer beware, right? Know where you're getting your apps. Only download apps from reputable app stores and whatnot, and only be sure that the entity that you're talking to in that app is actually who they say they are. Be wary of the signs, because the fraudsters are out there, and they create very realistic pretexting and attacks and social engineering that are, even for a cyber professional, it's almost impossible to distinguish the real from the fake. Which brings me to a point that it's really not the mobile users' responsibility to protect themselves, right? It's really up to the app makers to step up and protect their users and themselves, right? They're in the best position to be able to protect the user and the user's data and the user's experience.
Because I think at the end of the day, the app will only survive if it's realistic and it really protects the data that it's taking from the user. And also mostly, when we download apps from even the reputed app stores, I think even after that, a lot of, security questions and all of those are really ignored. So I think users need to be really careful of what they're doing. And of course, it's upon the developers, the makers of the app, that, they develop an app that's 100% secure and safe. So you've been really involved with a lot of startups, and so we would just want to know, what are the potential factors that you see before investing your time or your money in those startups? What are the factors?
That is a great question. Well, I wish I had a crystal ball, but I don't. When I look at a startup, I think what are the attributes that can make a company a great company, right? A lasting company that delivers value. And I think it comes down to the product, right? The product has to solve an important need for whoever is using the product, right? And it needs to be an important need, and it needs to fill a gap that someone else in the market isn't already fulfilling, right? There's a lot of competition in every industry or micro segment that you look at. So you have to have a great product, that it has to be markedly better than any other solution out there and solve an important problem in a big market, in a growing market. And then, of course, it's all about the people delivering the product, from everyone from engineering all the way to sales and everything in between. Those are the three things I would say: technology, big market, growing market, and great people. And that, to me, is the winning formula. And when I look at AppDome, I couldn't ask for a better group of people to work with. We're a family here, and it's just an amazing experience, and the product is phenomenal. And of course, mobile app security. I couldn't think of a more important place in cybersecurity than mobile right now. So I think we're in a sweet spot.
Yeah. So to all the startup founders who are watching this, please note down all those 3 pointers that Alan mentioned just now. With mobile apps becoming such a critical part of our daily lives, just like you said right now, what are the top security threats that users and developers also should be really aware of in 2024?
Yeah, that is a great question. Well, so we just completed our annual survey of mobile consumers. We at AppDome, every year we go out and we survey tens of thousands of consumers, mobile consumers around the world, many different countries, many different geographies, and we asked them all questions about their mobile usage and about their attitudes and expectations around mobile app security. And what I could tell you, the number one thing on people's minds is mobile fraud, closely followed by mobile malware, social engineering, and all of this is kind of sits in the backdrop of AI, because AI can and is in fact used to enhance all of those elements, right? Automate it and scale it and make the attack even more realistic. Like take phishing. Phishing is a spin on phishing, but it's done through voice, right? With voice clones, typically of a clone of a voice of a person that is trusted by the target, the person that they're attacking, where they'll get a digital, maybe they get it off of the person's social media account, and then use artificial intelligence to make a very real sounding and interactive voice of the person, and either extract money from the victim or critical information that they'll go and abuse somewhere else. So it's really about these threats that are all kind of culminating in the world of mobile right now. And the reason is pretty simple. It's because mobile is kind of where everyone is, right? It's mobile has eclipsed web traffic by a large margin as of a couple of years ago, and there seems to be no turning back. And so where there's people, there's spending, and when there's spending, there's fraudsters, right, and cyber criminals. And that's the pattern that we've seen. There's been a mass migration over to mobile in terms of cyber criminals prioritizing their resources, because cybercrime is a big business.
And everything is available on the internet. You just go and type the name of the person, and mostly everything is there, right? So yeah, it's sort of horrifying in a way. It's scary, but we have to be safe and secure of all of these threats, and we'll talk about that in the conversation ahead. So what are the common mistakes that mobile app developers make when it comes to security, and how can they be avoided?
Oh, that is a good one. One of the biggest mistakes is underestimating mobile developers, sort of underestimating just how important security and privacy protection are to mobile users. I think it's an underestimated thing, and I think that as users we care very deeply about security at every step of the experience. From and this data came out in our survey as well. When we ask people how important privacy is or how important fraud prevention is, we're seeing numbers that are in very large majority, over 80-90% in some cases, of users that feel that these protections are even more important than features. And there's a certain expectation that they have when they sign into that app. So users look for security features before they download apps, right? Over 50% of users check the release notes and online bulletins and newsletters of the app makers to see if they focus on security. And then once they're in the app, once they make the choice to download the app and use the app, then they're in constant vigilance of the experience and security of the app after they use it. And so if they find that an app isn't as secure as they thought it was, in some cases over 70% of users will bail. They'll cancel the app, and then they'll tell their friends to not use the app as well, or if the app is breached, right? So there's users at risk at the top of the funnel as well as the bottom of the funnel, right? With churn, if they experience a breach or if they learn that the app is not as secure as they thought. So users really care about security. That's the main mistake is assuming that they don't. And then the second big mistake is underestimating the effort that it takes to actually truly secure an app comprehensively, right? Mobile is one of these technologies where the attack surface is enormous, because everything that app needs to do is inside that app, right? Connections to the backend server, all the user's data. It needs to sit inside that little package, and attackers know that. And there's hundreds or even thousands of tools that are very easy to use and automated that can read source code, or that could that could, make clones of apps or bypass geo fencing or things like that, and really, really get into the inner workings of an app, make clones of the app, make malware that spies on the user, and then collects more, malware from a command and control center. And all of these things are automatable. So underestimating what it takes to protect against those type of threats is a huge mistake. And if you look at IT budgets, most of the IT budgets are still focused on web technologies, even though mobile has surpassed by a large margin web traffic for a number of years now. So I think there needs to be a mindset shift from an IT and security budgeting perspective to really, spend the money proportionately as to where the users are and where the revenue is coming from. And I think that's starting to happen.
Yeah, that's true. That's starting to happen across the world, I think. Yeah. What makes the browser attacks from APT29 particularly concerning for mobile app users? How can they, users ensure their personal information is being protected by the apps they use? So what are the important pointers that they need to remember while using such apps?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because APT 29, this is a for-profit elite hacker group, right? That's been involved in state-sponsored hacking, for-profit hacking. I mean, they're basically the cream of the crop. And the fact that they're targeting everyday users is quite chilling, because I think, when you compare the top cyber criminals and hackers in the world armed with automation and AI against a defenseless mobile user, there's really no match, right? To my point that developers and brands really need to recognize that and provide the protections using automation, right? So how do you fight automation? You use automation, right, to deliver security at a rate that's faster than the attackers, right? That's and comprehensively throughout the app and throughout the many different parts of the app that can be attacked. Because as I said, it's an app is a very vulnerable thing, because there's no inherent security in it. There's no firewall. There's no perimeter that's protecting it, and there's no identity that's authenticating people when the users log in, right? But to get apps, anyone can go to an app store and get any app they want and reverse engineer it without anyone even knowing, right? And that's kind of where a lot of these cyber attacks begin, long before you read the headline, right?
That's how the inception happens, right? Yeah. So although all of these factors come down to the point where developers need to be really cautious while building an app and taking care of the security, sometimes what happens is that we also ignore a few pointers, a few factors that happen right in front of our eyes, and we ignore those factors, and then ends up our data, our information has been it's been leaked, and it's been gone to someone who doesn't really should have it. So suppose, just like in my case, I ended up downloading an app, and then there were a few other apps downloaded on my phone. So that sort of was really alarming for me. And I immediately deleted the app, and then so what could people like me who are really not aware of, how to handle their own personal security, their own information should be in safe hands, how do those people, ensure that they're safe and their information is safe?
Of course, users need to be vigilant. I hate to sit here and because for years, we in mobile, users have been told, be careful, go get this cyber training and only download apps from these sources. And it's almost an unfair position to put the user in, because they're the ones that are the least equipped to protect themselves. And yet the threat has gotten more complex. It's gotten more sophisticated. There's malware now that could do literally automated transfers without even of bank transfers or account transfers or account takeovers without even the user being involved or knowing. an example of that would be a Brasdex, right? This is malware, Android Trojans, banking Trojans that started in Brazil, targeting Brazilian banks, and crypto wallets and the like, but have since, branched out around the world. This malware is so sophisticated that it could intercept MFA codes. So it can actually become the user because it intercepts the MFA codes, usually by abusing things like permissions, posing as an app and asking the user for permissions that whether it be the camera or there's malware that could read your screen while you're typing. There's keyloggers, right? So malware, it does reconnaissance and it collects all this information and all this knowledge, and then it strikes at just the right moment because it knows what's going on in the user's environment, and sets itself up to create the perfect trickery, right? Because if you're using an app, right, you're using your banking app, and then an app that looks like your banking app asks you for a permission to do something that you're probably going to do it, right? Because you're it's happening in the context of you using the app, because the malware knows that you're using the app. For these type of attacks, again, it's really up to the brands and the developers to build both offensive and defensive security into the app, and also to build threat intelligence so that they could see what's happening to their users in the real world, right, in the wild.
Yeah. So just like I think you already said that, with such heavily equipped cyber threats and the malware and all of that is there, we can only fight it with the right equipments ourselves, like being automated by AI and using the right sort of security covers, the right sort of walls that are required, right?
Yeah, and also the security bar continues to be raised, right? When back when we started this, 9 years ago or so, somewhere around there, the standard set of security features then were things like maybe encryption, code obfuscation, man in the middle protection of the data in transit, and maybe jailbreak and root. And then you'd call it a day. You'd call the app secure, and you'd have peace of mind as a developer. And that's kind of how where AppDome got its start, automating the implementation of features like that, so that brands could deliver a secure app in minutes, right? Versus many months to try to do it manually. So it gives you a better outcome, faster, more security for less work, right? Fast forward now, the standard baseline of security features that were appropriate for that day are no longer sufficient to combat the sophistication, the growing sophistication of malware and Trojans and social engineering that AI has bestowed upon attackers in their toolbox. And so now the standard set of security features needs to include anti-malware. It needs to include anti-fraud functionality, proactive anti-fraud functionality to really prevent the fraud before it starts, and really to take away the method to basically prevent the attack from happening in the first place by preventing the methods that the attackers use to execute the attack.
Yeah, true.
And then having visibility to being able to put telemetry into the mobile app, so that when it's in the user's hands, that you could see real-time attacks or attempts that are happening on the user's device and when they're using the app.
So are there any particular industries that are at more risk of being targeted by factors like APT 29? And how should they prioritize their security efforts? One could be definitely automation, like you already mentioned, but if you could just elaborate on this.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's banking and financial apps, healthcare apps, retail apps. I mean, any app that stores sensitive data or handles financial transactions is always going to be a prime target for attackers, because again, these are typically for-profit organizations. I was going to, you can't even say individuals, because a lot of times it's not an individual, it's an organization, right? Attackers are they're almost like crime rings, very organized, highly motivated, and highly armed, and highly skilled attackers, and they're out for profit. And so again, the only way to combat those type of threats is to have an automated way to implement rock solid baseline security, right? That will protect the app while it's in defensive measures that can protect the app when it's in the hands of users, as well as threat analytics to feed back to a dashboard and tell the security organization what's happening inside the app when it's in the hands of users. And then that feeds back in to the development process, because you find attacks that you're not covered for, that your app is not protecting, and you can simply add those protections with the click of a button, using automation platforms like AppDome. So it's really a closed loop, full circle cycle. And all this, to do security effectively, you really need to be early on in the dev cycle, right? If you look at the release velocity of most major apps, I mean, you're talking 100 or sometimes more releases per year, right? So that's, maybe several times a week, or at least once a week, that these apps are releasing. Everything is automated in the mobile development app lifecycle, and so security also needs to be automated, or it just doesn't fit, right? And when the business is forced to make a priority of prioritizing the business or security, the business always wins. So that's why we built AppDome, which is a tool that allows developers to automate comprehensive mobile app security. 350 plus defenses that they could implement any combination of in any app, all within the same workflows and the same tools that they use to deliver apps in the first place. So we sit right in the pipeline of all the other automated tools. So it's one automated process. Every time the app builds, the security gets built. And so that's what's known as shift left. You may have heard that term used in DevOps or cybersecurity. And shift left basically means doing security early on in the dev cycle and the release cycle of the app.
Yeah. So that's really, really interesting for me also, someone who's really out of, I don't really know more so much about cybersecurity, and thank you so much for explaining it also well. I really get it now, and it's very, very crystal clear that the baseline security has to be very, very, well taken care of and automated. That's when the users be secure. That's how you get to use a better, a good interface, a better safe app, a safe, secure app in your day-to-day life. So, yeah.
And we don't want you to have to be a cybersecurity expert, right?
That's what you are here for, right?
Yeah. So the best security is that which is invisible to the mobile user, right? And so again, with AppDome, we're always building our products with the user experience in mind, and that's, you really can't sell to developers and convince them to put this product into their pipeline unless they know it's going to be rock solid, it's going to be reliable, it's not going to crash, and it's not going to impact their release times, right? These are the metrics that they care about and that they're measured on. So the product has to fit within that, within that context in order to be successful. Otherwise, it just becomes shelfware.
Right. The seamless it is, the better, right?
It's seamless from every perspective, right? Every developer's perspective, the security person's perspective, and the mobile end user's perspective. It all needs to be seamless, and that truly is the best security, that does its job without you knowing as a user and without getting in your way, but still providing very, very comprehensive security to protect every area. Not just your privacy, but your data, your personal information, and of course the brand's proprietary information or intellectual property, and apps are the business in many more industries than not. Mobile is really delivering significant contribution to the top line, and so it truly matters.
I came across your video on YouTube. I was actually just scrolling through a few videos that you did on YouTube. And I came across a no-code mobile app security in Zoom, in the Zoom platform, right? So what are the other platforms that can operate on this no-code format? And is it really efficient enough, and does it really keep all the potential risks at bay?
That is a great question. So to answer, it's a simple answer. AppDome works with any app on the planet, right? No matter how that app is built. That's sort of the part of the value. Big part of the value is that it works with every app framework, every programming language seamlessly. And so AppDome, it kind of turns the security model upside down, right? Most security has been a model where the security is sort of imposed upon the dev team, all right, and they're forced to implement it, and they're forced to change how they build apps, right? And that's not a successful strategy, right? We built a product that doesn't need to change the app, right? That the developers don't need to change any of the workflows that they use or any of the tools that they use, and it doesn't add time into their release cycle, right? They literally build whenever the automated build cycle runs. That's when AppDome gets implemented, dozens of times a day, or more in our customers that are implementing 50 or 60 different security features all at once. Right, so the platform is self-service, and it's got 350 different protections that you could build into any app in any combination that you need, and it takes about a minute and a half to build the security into the app. Right,
That's
literally.
That's very cool. So now we come down to the part where we really talk about AppDome and the platform's patented AI-based coding engine, which is leveraging AI and automation to protect mobile apps, and which is, of course, from the increasingly sophisticated threats. We already spoke about it, but I think if there's anything else you wish to add, then I would really love to listen to you.
Yeah. So we've been using AI and ML since before it was a buzzword, right? So from day one, AppDome has been around for over 10 years, and AI and automation has always been a central part of the platform, right? So and we use AI in a number of different ways, right? So one is in the implementation of protections into mobile apps, right? That typically the dev team and the security team collaborate when using our product, but it's usually the security team that decides what security features are needed, right? Typically comes from a mandate from the business, and they choose the security model, and then the dev team takes that, turns it into an API, and puts it into their build process, and then anytime the app builds, the security just gets built right along with it, whether they're implementing one feature or implementing 100 features, it all happens in less than a minute. So it's those two key elements. Three elements. Works with any app, implemented in minutes, and also doesn't change the existing workflows or tools that the dev team uses. Right. So zero friction and zero dev work, no coding. And then the next iteration of AI comes from a product that we call ThreatScope, which is real-time threat intelligence delivered through telemetry that you put into the app using the same process that you implement protections, right? And basically think of these as monitors of the app while it's in the hands of the users, of all all the thousands of different threat vectors that the app is vulnerable to, and it reports back in real time. That is also using AI, and that information informs the dev cycle. Right, the next iteration of the app is informed by what threat scope finds. So our cyber teams are monitoring the apps, and they see the threats that are they do see protections that are protected, right? So they'll see a lot of green where an attempt was made to attack the app and AppDome protected it. If not, if they didn't implement the protection, they didn't, because no customer implements all 350 features at once, right? Then if they are uncovered because it's a threat against something that they don't have a protection for, then they could quickly add that into the next release using the platform, and again implemented in minutes. And then finally the newest area that we use AI and generative AI is what we call Threat Resolution Center, right? This is our kind of newest innovation in this space. And what that is it's a tool that allows customer support teams at mobile brands to help end users like you and I resolve attacks and threats as they're happening with prescriptive step-by-step instructions that are tailored to whatever the attack is that's happening, right? Even down to the package, if it's malware, right? Because the telemetry inside the app, the intelligence inside the app, collects a rich set of threat data, and then we use generative AI to deliver very prescriptive step-by-step instructions to the end user so that they could basically resolve the threat without having to reboot the phone or without having to reset the phone, and without having to stop using the app, right? And again, it's it's very important to developers, right, that they keep their customers in the app experience, because once you lose them, who knows if they're going to come back, right? And so that's Threat Resolution Center really provides that icing on the cake of full circle instant remediation
and all around protection. Yeah.
And it's a great experience all around, right? So instead of the user getting interrupted and the app shutting down if there's a threat, they stayed within the app context, and the customer support team helps the end user resolve the threat with very prescriptive step-by-step instructions that are always up to date.
Yeah, that's really cool because that's something that empowers all the mobile users, right? It's a way to empower everyone and to be safe and secure while using all those apps that we like to use. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So just like we were talking, Alan, AI has definitely empowered both the cyber criminals and cyber security experts as well. So who do you think is winning at the moment? Who has the upper hand?
Oh boy, is that a loaded question. Who is winning? Well, so I think it really depends on kind of the how, right? How are you approaching, and when I say you, a brand, how is a brand approaching this thing called mobile app security, right? If they're trying to do it using traditional tools of SDKs or manual coding, that is unfortunately a lost cause, right? It's a non-winnable battle because the adversary is just so leaps and bounds ahead of anything manual, right? So you can't fight automated tools with.
There's not a fight at all then. Yeah.
But if you're using a system like AppDome and automating security, then the brands are winning, right? It's giving brands an upper hand because it gives them the visibility, it gives them the control, and it gives them the velocity of implementation to really counter attacks, stop them before they can happen. But when they do happen, handle them in a more elegant way, keep the user in the app, and then implement the protection immediately within the next release cycle to again, have that velocity that stays ahead of the hackers rather than always playing catch up in the dark.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Also, how aware do you think are the people in the industry about all of these security and the protective ways and platforms like AppDome? How aware are people around the world?
Of the threats, you mean, or of the fact that automated tools exist?
Yeah, of the fact that automated tools are available, of the fact that security and cybersecurity experts also can have the upper hand. How aware are the people around the industry?
Well, yeah. So back in the day when AppDome was a tiny little startup, I would say I would have said not a lot, right? Because but we've been at this now for just about 10 years or more, and so we're starting. We've gained recognition in the industry. We're just a better mousetrap, right? A better way to build security that doesn't have all of the baggage and all of the work and the obstacles that the traditional methods have. So I would say more and more every day, people are realizing that they can solve this problem. It gets better by the day because it's a system. It's a self-learning product, right? Our product is self-feeding, right? We've now we protect. I believe we're approaching 1 billion users, right? Protected by AppDome across thousands of different apps and thousands of brands that are using our products to both do the threat detection and also to protect the users and themselves. So I'm very, very optimistic. I think the future is very bright, and we're just getting started here.
Yes, true. That's true. Because I think the more users are becoming, aware of the mobile app threats, they are also going and seeking solutions for the same, right? So platforms like AppDome definitely are doing a great job. You, Alan, are doing a great job. Thank you so much for telling us all of this, giving us all of this, really valuable information, which I personally did not really know much about. So yes, moving ahead with our chat, which emerging technologies also do you think are most attacked by threat factors in the coming future? So what are the futuristic threats that, the technologies that you think are more going to be more attacked by the threats? And how are we preparing for those potential threats that we do not know still, they exist? So we don't even know about these threats that are coming, but yeah, in the future, what could be the solutions and what could be the threats that could be acting upon us?
Yeah, that another great question, and not an easy one either. But at top of mind, I would have to say AI and maybe Internet of Things, right, are two things that come to the top of my mind when I think about the threats of the future, and to an extent they're here today, right? And so from an AI perspective, it's almost like a limitless sea of things that you could do. I mean, we're all consumers now of this very, very powerful technology, and in the wrong hands, it can be abused in very, very big ways. And so I think threats are just going to continue to get more sophisticated. They're going to continue to get more automated, and they're going to continue to get more scalable and self-learning, right? Using this technology. And then from the Internet of Things side, there I'm talking about things that typically were not networked before, right? Refrigerators or vehicles, cars, right, are coming online in massive ways, and typically these products don't have security built in, right? They're typically using older operating systems that don't even have security. No one contemplated that, because who would have thought that you'd have to put software security inside your refrigerator? And so these it really just expands the number of nodes that can be attacked, and expands the attack footprint, and just gives more land surface for the attackers to focus on and get a foothold in, right? Because attackers are always looking to up level wherever they're at, right? If they're in the mobile app, they want to use the mobile app to get to the network. Hackers these days don't want to hack one account; they want to hack 100,000 accounts, right? In one spot, right? And so AI is both definitely a threat and an opportunity at the same time.
Yeah.
Very, very exciting. So I'm glad I'm where I'm at, and I'm glad that we've got a 9-year head start on we've been using AI for a much longer period of time than the attackers have been using AI from the threat side. So I'm gonna bet on us to win that battle.
Looks like I'm also going to bet on you. So, because after everything that you've told me about AppDome, it's definitely a great platform that's, again, empowering everyone. So, yeah. Also, Alan, for mobile apps that handle very sensitive data, like you really mentioned the healthcare apps or the mobile payments app, what are the additional security layers that developers should really consider to, ensure compliance and protect their users? You've told me that, AppDome has 350 features that can be aligned with the app in the framework right then and there. But what are the other, security layers that should be considered as well?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you're asking of which of the 350 do they pick, right? And we get this question all
I think all, right?
It makes me smile because, there was a time in my career at AppDome where I was basically sitting with the sales team and helping our sales team sell and working with customers on choosing the right set of features. So oftentimes they would come to me before ThreatScope, right? The product that you use to put telemetry in and intelligence. It was a guess, right? Because no one ever knew what was happening inside a mobile app, because before AppDome came along with ThreatScope, it's just too darn hard to get the telemetry into an app. So you never really saw mass deployments of intelligence in mobile apps until we came out with ThreatScope. And now, now we're getting, literally billions of threat events that we see come across every single day. It's quite enlightening. Our customers now have visibility that they never had before, right? The mobile app used to be a complete dark side of the moon. And now we've shined the light in there, and it's really put brands in a place to have.
Now you are the moon, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you are the moon.
So it gives them an ability to actually see what's going on, and then they don't have to rely on me to help them pick the security features, right? Because now why use Alan, or why use a pen tester to tell you what might happen when you can actually see what is happening, right? So that's what the power of ThreatScope is, that it actually lets you see what's happening to your users and your app in real time, and then gives you the ability to react to that with automation all around.
Yeah. That's great information, I think. And also, Alan, I would like to know what is, how important it is. Just like I was talking about awareness and how, people are aware about, educated are people around the industry. So how important is it for the developers now to educate themselves on mobile app security risks, and where should they turn for trusted, up-to-date information?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we do advocate, of course, awareness, especially to the possibilities of threats. Now, at the same time, we don't want to put a burden on the dev team. It's quite unfair to expect a mobile app developer to implement a technology that is not what they're classically trained in, right? Developers are not trained in encryption or obfuscation or malware prevention. They're trained in building great experiences and building great workflows and making users delighted. And that's where we want our developers to spend the time, right? From a selfish perspective, I want developers of the apps that I'm using spending time on there, and then using AppDome to automate the security so that they don't have to worry about that day to day. But of course, they need to be aware of of the possibilities that are out there so that they could react at the right time in the right way. It's a set of resources that OWASP is fantastic. We partner with OWASP. They have best practices for all types of apps, not just mobile apps, but best practices that developers could follow of what are the top threats that you need to protect against, and what are the technologies that you need to protect against each of those threats, and then automated test plans to ensure that the protections you've implemented are actually working, and what have you. So staying up to date with organizations like that, going to trade shows, understanding what's out there, new technologies that can make their lives easier.
It's the on-ground information that's there, that's afloat.
Yeah, it's everywhere in my career, I've always been enamored with making the user's life easier. Right, that's the key. Of course, the key to adoption is about the experience, but it's also about the ease of use and no friction, and sort of making it easy to consume and use the product. And at AppDome, our engineering team has done an amazing job at making something that's insanely complex very, very simple. Right, it looks very simple, but what's happening under the covers is extremely complex. It's really, really, really hard to make something that's hard look easy, right? And be easy.
Yeah, we can only imagine. So, Alan, you have the wealth of experience, like I mentioned. What advice would you like to give to the young professionals who are looking to enter the tech industry today?
Oh, yeah. Wow. I would say always be adaptable, be nimble, embrace the future, and stay current. Whether you're in a hardcore technical role like development or software engineering, then of course staying up to date with the newest technologies and frameworks. In mobile, it's literally moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour, so it's really dizzying to keep up, but it's really necessary. And I would also say, as a company grows, every function is critically important, right? From engineering to customer support, to sales, to product management, to marketing. So to young people, I would say the tech path is definitely fantastic, but there are other paths in companies, in other disciplines. And of course, staying current there is equally as important. But to really, don't assume that you have to just go one track and that's the path. I mean, there's many different paths to success, and every role in a company is critical to delivering the value.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Alan. That was really insightful. I hate to say this, but we are moving on to the last question for the session today. What skills would be most in demand in the next 5 years?
Gosh, skills. What skills would be most in demand? You're asking me for a crystal ball again. I would say certainly AI it's almost a gimme that AI, ML, these large language models, automation is critically important. That goes without saying. And another thing, you don't as these automated technologies come out, sharpen your pencil, right? Sharpen your pencil and always keep moving up the value chain, right? As tasks get automated, doesn't mean people are going to lose their jobs, right? If retool and focus on the higher value. Automation is all about, eliminating repetitive, inefficient tasks that could be done by a machine, so that the smart humans could focus on the really high value, harder problems to solve that can't be done by machines. Yeah, so that's the advice I would. That's the advice that I'm following. That I'm trying to follow.
Thank you so much for watching this video today. I hope you've really got to learn a lot about cybersecurity and how to protect your private information and everything that is related to that. Well, also follow Mobile App Daily, subscribe to our channel for more such insightful and informative sessions like these. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.